Welcome to From Tech Developer to Real Estate Developer. Here you'll go from making ends meet behind a keyboard to living in true freedom by using real estate well. Never having to work a full-time job, report to a manager, or give your adult life to a corporation that probably doesn't care about you. We will give you everything you need for your journey: techniques, principles, real-world experience, and application, filtered through 5 key power principles from my book, People Power, Other People's Money, How to Win, Enjoy, and Reserve. Get ready to take notes. Let's jump into From Tech Developer to Real Estate Developer. Welcome to From Tech Developer to Real Estate Developer. I have an amazing guest here today, Don Spafford. You're going to be learning lots because he started with a quadruplex and ended at 2,400 doors and deals. In terms of his background, his little bio here, I've condensed it down because he has done a lot over the years. But his first job was at Orion Advisor Tech in Omaha, Nebraska. He worked with them for almost 20 years, managing over 1,000 projects. And by the time he left, that company was managing over $1 trillion in assets. I feel like putting my pinky on my lip here and saying $1 trillion. Working through the market crash of 2008, he was working plenty of overtime, and within a few years, his wife became a realtor. They decided to take out a loan from their 401k to fund the first quadruplex deal. Today, he's a part of 2,400 doors and deals. Don Spafford, welcome to From Tech Developer to Real Estate Developer.
Thank you. My pleasure to be here. I appreciate the opportunity to share my story.
Yeah. And would you like to add anything to that intro, by the way?
Sure. Well, maybe I think you said my first job was at Orion. Technically, that's my last job.
Oh, yeah.
My first job was
My
was
bad.
Dairy Queen when I was 14 years old. Yeah.
Yeah, that was my bad on there. But yeah, what was your upbringing like?
It was pretty good. It depends on how you look at it, I guess. When I was young, we moved around quite a bit. My dad was still active military at the time, and so we moved. It seems like almost about every 6 months. Lived in Idaho, Georgia, California, back to Idaho for a bit, then finally in Nebraska, where we settled down, where my dad retired from the military, and so I grew up most of my life really around the Omaha, Nebraska area. And then kind of grew up. Always had I guess, an interest in money and numbers and investing. Since again, 14 years old, had my first job at Dairy Queen. I was back then kind of sort of pre-internet days, I guess. I was checking the newspapers to look at stock prices and things like that to see what was happening, and it was always just anxiously waiting where I could start investing on my first time, and so I kind of always followed that path. Just had an enjoyment, I guess you'd say, a knack for numbers, and science and math were always my favorite subjects. And later on, as I graduated, I actually initially pursued some like programming, I guess, computer tech stuff, which again, internet was basically new around that time, like mid 90s. And the programming those days was very different than it is today. And so I actually at that time decided I hated it after one semester, and did not pursue it anymore, and started going after like international business initially, and then later change the path to be in finance, investment science, portfolio management, accounting. So kind of followed that path of just keeping with the numbers.
Okay. I don't hear too many kids saying, I'm gonna go look at stocks right now. What
Yeah.
inspired that?
Uh, I don't know. It was just I guess even from a young age, playing Monopoly, just seeing the power of money and investing, and how it can quickly add up and just change everything. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I really don't know. I mean, it was just those early interests back in the days, I guess, of people like Warren Buffett and Bill Gates and things that I'd see, hey, these billionaires that are able to do this from investing, and I saw that there was potential there. This is, of course, way back before I knew anything about real estate, but I saw stocks as an easy way to get in with that much money to start with, and lots of people had found success doing that. So I figured I'd try to do that too.
Yeah. Yeah, and we both know Warren is also started in Nebraska. So did did you hear any news about him growing up, or was that totally later in life?
No, yeah, it was a big deal. Anytime the shareholder meetings would go on, there's always a big news media there, the local news, talking about all the people coming in from around the world, and this big event. So yeah, you pretty much you can't live there and not know about Warren. So that I think is probably a part of that influence as well, is like, seeing all this stuff, what's going on, and wanting to be part of that. So yeah, you
Yeah,
can't get away from that.
yeah. We probably could touch on him for a minute, and maybe we'll come back around to him because he specialized in finding underperforming businesses that he anticipated having a upswing, right? Is that how he kind of?
Pretty much, yeah. He'd find great value properties, or value companies, should say, where that already had good management in place, and good potential, and he could just input more money, I guess, to help boost them
Yeah,
even more. I guess, where he saw there was a definitely growth potential in those companies.
indeed. Yes, go on a Wikipedia binge about that guy. It's quite interesting what he did. But let's get back to you. People power is our first section. We got people power, other people's money or resources, winning, enjoying, a reserve as the five key power principles. So when it comes to people power, who were the people involved in your life that helped you to become the great man you are today?
Wow, when you put it that way, I guess the people who influenced me to become the man I am, more than just the investing side of things. So, well, yeah, obviously my parents, both my dad and my mother, were great. They always kept us, humble and appreciative of what we had, and they were never, of course, rich or wealthy, but we always were happy with what we had, and they were always there to help support us when and where needed.
Mhm.
Um, my dad was always a great example of just someone always willing to help, and do things for others, which I think is same as me. I enjoy helping people, and doing what I can to just contribute to society, and help those in need. Um, I'd say also my several of my church leaders when I was growing up, in like as a young man, my young men's leaders in church were always great influences on me as well. Kind of helped, I guess, inspire and teach me that kind of that age where you're young teenager, where you're kind of don't really want to hear what your parents have to say, but you listen to other adults. So they were a great time of that to help me to kind of keep my head on straight, I guess, and keep me out of trouble.
Yeah.
And then the guy who was later my boss when I worked for Ryan, he was, before I worked there, I actually knew him. He came through church. I worked with him as some service callings, and um, he became, he came into my life right around the same time my father passed away in 2003. And so this other man kind of set my life around that same time. So he kind of became a father figure for me, kind of
Okay.
someone I could look up to, and console with. And then later ended up working for his company.
Hmm.
And he was, yeah, he was also, a great man. He was, of course, built this company, and had some great amount of wealth, but he was also still very humble and willing to help and give to others, and did lots of things for charities, and things like that, without, of course, any recognition. And unfortunately, he also passed away, um, around 2012, I think. And his funeral event was probably just about as massive as one of the Berkshire Hathaway shareholder meetings. There was a huge group of people that came in for that, because he was such a big influence in that community in the Omaha area. Um,
Okay.
so I was definitely grateful to have him in my life for the time I did, to influence and help push me and inspire me. And um, so yeah, I think overall those were all some great influences I had in my life.
Okay. You bring up something that comes to mind in that mentors could come into your life and you don't even anticipate it, but you have to be open to them. One of my
Definitely.
favorite mentors I actually just met in an elevator. But just when I had my job at Turner Broadcasting, we just had a random little back and forth, and I was like, "Hey, let's hang out. We get along in 5 seconds flat, so I'm sure we'll get along having lunch." And it turns out he was a former interrogator, sergeant in the army, and he went into the tech world. And so he taught me all these other things that I could apply to real estate, because obviously you're going to come across tenants that lie. So having some interrogation techniques would be great.
Ah, nice.
Don't worry, I'm not waterboarding. Don't worry, Don. But I guess, do you have any thoughts on that? Like,
Mm.
was there even an intention to seek him out as a mentor? Did it just come to be from a regular conversation?
Yeah, well, that we're kind of thrown together just again through a church calling. He was called to be the leader of us. We call it since you're branch president of this little congregation of mostly Hispanic members, and I was one of his counselors with him, and we kind of just through that relationship kind of built up our personal relationship as well. And
Hmm.
basically became part of our family. He came to my children's birthday parties, and we'd be at his house for different events and things. So it was great. And as you said too about mentors, it's definitely people influence us in many different ways. It could be teachers at school or neighbors, friends, whatever. But um, I when I was ever in a position to effectively be a mentor without trying to come across as being a mentor, I try to take advantage of those opportunities. So I was later in my younger ages, I guess. I was also a scoutmaster for a while for a small group of some Hispanic boys, and
Hmm.
um, even though I was there to help them get through the scouting program to get their Eagle Scouts and things like that, the my main objective more than anything else, more than that, was just to try to be an additional influence on them as well, to kind of help be a mentor. I actually took some of them to the Berkshire Hathaway shareholding meetings just
Oh,
to
nice.
get that influence and kind of inspire them to do something more. And they came from immigrant families that had come here, so they've grown up seeing the that side of not having much, and I was like, hey, you can do a lot now. And I was grateful to see actually a couple of them now are going to school out kind of near me, so I had lunch with them about a year ago or so. And so it's great to kind of see their progression and what they're doing these days. And that I hopefully was at least some kind of a positive influence in their life for some time.
Yeah. Life is a series of moments, and you clearly made a moment, several moments for them possible that they may have not had otherwise.
Yeah.
Um, so okay, so those are good people power topics. What about when it comes to other people's money or resources? How did you use that to scale your business forward?
Sure. Well, as I got into real estate, I knew that just anybody that follows real estate investing, listen to podcasts or go to meetups, whatever, you always hear about, using other people's money, to fund your deals and all that kind of stuff. So I knew at some point that I was going to need that. I couldn't do everything on my own, but at the same time, I knew I had to do something first. I had to get started, kind of show that I have I know what I'm doing and that kind of stuff. So knowing I had to do that, because did not have much of a big circle of friends or sphere of influence of people I could rely on to lend money from the very beginning. So I was like, I got to do this on my own, figure it out, kind of show that I'm a action investor. I have stuff, So
Hmm.
that's how I kind of first started. Bought my first property kind of for that purpose. And then shortly after that, I realized that was in many cases that was enough. That's all I need to actually show that I'm actually an investor, not just a a wannabe investor.
Hmm.
And so that kind of opened up the doors for some people that were at that point already then willing to start uh, providing funding if needed for certain deals. I actually got some money tied up from a local investor to do a development here, which unfortunately we missed out just by about a week. So
Hmm.
somebody else had bought the land right before this guy had agreed to provide the money for it. But
Oh, dang.
yeah, over time, yeah, I was like as I progressed more and especially got into the commercial real estate side of things, where other people's money is essential. I kind of purposely worked towards building up that network. As my previous life, again, working a computer, running numbers all day, that's very much, on my own. I'm very much an introvert anyway, so it was good with me. And so getting out of my comfort zone, knowing that, hey, at some point people need to know who I am, they need to see me and trust me. So I purposely then started building up my network, getting on social media, started posting to LinkedIn and Facebook, and uh, you know, building up that brand of being me, my name, the brand, right? So I would kind of post regularly about different topics on real estate and investing and meetup events, all these different things, just to help people see me and trust me. And so that way later on, when I got to that point where I need to now start seeking capital from people to invest with me,
Hmm.
they would already at that point know who I am and have seen me and trust me enough to be willing to provide that capital. Because to have money, to people to provide you money, need to know, like, and trust you. So,
Yeah,
so it's a
that
big
takes
part. It was,
time.
they need to know me. So I got to build up that presence over time. So that way, Chris, someone wants to do some research, they can look at my name, they'll find me on all these other things, and then just on like going to podcasts or put my content on those posts, people get to know me over time just from the things I say and do, and then the trust is the only thing that they usually a phone call or two, maybe enough to build that trust, or just listening to a podcast like this. They hear you talk enough on the podcast, they kind of have that built-in trust just from hearing you enough times. So anyways, all those things that kind of worked towards building up over time
Mhm.
to get to that point where I could now, raise, millions that are needed for these syndication purchases.
Yeah. Would you measure your like ability to raise capital in duration of time or quality of time with a prospective investor?
Um, it probably depends on their personality types. There's many different personalities out there. Some people just want to get right to the facts and know the numbers and be done in 5 minutes. And there's others that
Yeah.
want to spend an hour going through all the different scenarios and questions. So I try to be as much flexible as I can be with the people I'm talking to. But obviously you got to have the quality in there as well. But like I said, you never know. Sometimes I spend an hour talking to people just about their personal situation. You don't really talk about much about the deal itself. It's just more of they want to build up that trust factor more than they care about the numbers. So um, just got to be able to be flexible and respond as needed.
Yes. That is a great point. Um, because it made me think of a book, which I'm trying to remember the name of right now. But basically, there's four main uh, observances of how a person buys. And you mentioned two of them, I believe. Somebody looks at the details, somebody just wants to look at the facts, like numbers involved and just be in and out. Other people want to spend 3 to 6 months mulling it over. So I'll once I find that book, I will throw it in the show notes also because that is a great point. Even outside of it, raising capital, just sales in general, knowing how people move is very great for being able to help get to both end results, yours and theirs. Um, okay, let me see here. So we got through other people's money or resources. Um, is there like a go-to thing you do, or is it like marketing initiatives across the board to raise capital or achieve your end result in your real estate properties?
So I kind of do things a bit maybe different than most. I don't know. I try to be unique. I don't want to just copy what others do and be something I'm not. So as much as I'm an introvert, I still kind of like I don't know, have this inner playful me, I guess. So I try to make my posts enjoyable, I guess, in a sense. So it's not just facts and data. I want to
Mhm.
get something that catches your attention, makes it a bit funny. So I often include a lot of like 80s memes or different things in my posts. Or
Oh, nice.
I did one the other day just to be make a complete idiot myself. Making this such as this video of me as if I was somebody that had invested with me, kind of giving this a testimonial, but like in a negative way, sort of, like saying, you know, I invested Don, now I've got all this money I don't know what to do with, and it's ruining my life because now I had to quit my job, and so I try to do these things just kind of be funny,
Mhm.
so to get people to have that kind of sort of an emotional response to it more than just factual numbers and be boring.
Yeah.
Um, so that's kind of what I've been doing to get people to kind of know me and know my personality through the way I post. Because again, that's me. That's my personality come across more than just being completely, we'll say, I guess, professional with just numbers and facts and data. Which I do
Yeah.
include those as well, but I try to do something more to make it less boring. I guess for those who are looking for something more entertaining.
If this is too personal, let me know. But how much have you raised with your, I guess, posts and marketing that you've tried?
Um, I don't know. I've had to say a number at this point, and I've only been doing it for uh, basically about 2 years. Um, I'd say it's at least around a couple million or so.
Yeah.
Maybe a million per year so far at this point. This year has definitely been a bit slower than expected, which I'm sure, as you know, and most people are syndicators understand. This year's been
Yeah.
tough for
Yeah.
everybody, but yeah, I mean, the very first deal I raised for, kind of before I had any experience doing anything, I think I only raised like 250,000, but still I was, as I hear from most people, only maybe only raised like 50,000 the first deal. So I was like, well, it felt good. I did that
Yeah.
on my very first deal. That's when I had pretty much no following and before I did anything really on social media. So,
Yeah.
but then it's kind of just grown over time and help to contribute where I can, and that's effectively me directly on my own. But I've also through my contacts and connections, I find other people that are also experienced capital raisers, since I invite them to kind of help join us and raise with us. So if I include what they've raised, that's multiplied that several times more. So 'cause they've each brought in several million as well. So um, but yeah, and again, I understand for me I understand it's a team sport. I don't ever say I'm going to try to do this on my own. I'll raise the full 10 million on my own because I know I can't. So I seek the help of others. I'm like I'm willing to give up what whatever benefit comes from that, knowing that getting the deal done is more important than how much I bring. If I bring $0, I can have somebody else that brings all of it. Then fine, I'm good at that. That still gets the deal done. That's the important
Yeah.
thing, is getting the deal done so we can provide that revenue back to our investors and keep pushing things forward and building up more and more in our portfolio.
Yeah. 100% of something is better than 100% of zero.
Exactly. Yeah.
Um, okay. There's a thought that comes to mind that kind of floats in the back of my brain when I look at companies like Blackstone, which I want to get to and overcome, but specifically for affordable housing multifamily,
Mhm.
that there's a tone of old guard, I guess is a simple way to put it. Like it's very Times New Roman, straight to business. We're all in suit and ties. But a big part of me is at the back of my head, like, that's not where the future is going. I, I think there's going to be a whole new segmentation of niches of prospective investors. What do you think about that?
I 100% agree. Yeah, I mean, as we all know, I guess the younger generation, these Gen Z and um, millennials, I guess, they're growing up in this tech world. So a lot of them are now making high income
Yeah.
and don't know what to do with it. So they're
Yeah.
looking for places to invest. And so there's a lot of people that I know have done a lot of business on things like TikTok and Instagram, things like that just raise capital in those sources alone, and that's where all those group of people hang out really. So yeah, I agree. There's a whole new group that's looking for something different and entertaining, and you got to find a way to get their attention. And it's probably not going to be, like I said, through suit and tie, boring way of doing it. So
Yeah. I
um,
probably need to get off MySpace too. We'll see.
yeah.
Okay, well, moving on to the middle section, winning. Um, when you think about winning, what does that mean to you? And that could also mean learning from failure, learning from headaches that you dealt with in the deal. What
Sure.
comes to mind?
Um, well, I'd say many aspects to this question, I guess. So
Yeah, it could
the way
also
I
mean
guess
marriage too. Like, oh,
yeah. So
back,
so for
yeah,
me, going back even when I had that job with Orion, there was I remember one time when I interviewed for a higher up position. Um, Something that came to mind in that interview, I told him, was like, well, my family, of course, was always the most important thing. I was never going to give that up. So that reminds me of a quote, which I'll probably mess up now because I can't can mind, but something like no success in life can account for failure in the home, something like that. So
yes, that's
so it's
good.
like for me, the success is definitely having your family and being with them as much as you can, not just achieving all these professional acclaims and things in life, saying I'm president or CEO of X and X company and making $1 million a year, but I work 80 hours a week and never see my family. uh Providing them money is not the same as being there and being present. That
Yeah.
in many situations, I've seen many households of even people that leave their family behind in other countries and come here to work in the U.S. to make money to send to their family. I'm like, sounds great, but in the end, that's not what they need. They want you there. They don't care about the money. You can
Hmm.
be in total poverty, but as long as you're together, that's better than having money and not having a family. Um, so that's for me, winning is just having that, having, again, it was kind of my whole point of when I started investing. My goal was to achieve enough financial freedom, passive income, so I could, leave my job and have the time freedom to be with my family and spend more time with them and be here as my kids, are growing up before they're all out of the house, and being able to take vacations when we want to, not to, request time off and not get approved, and all that kind of stuff. So that for me is winning, is just having that freedom and success to do the things you love and be with people you love, and more so than any wealth or money.
Hmm. Yeah, that is valuable right there. You know what I just found out on the Conan O'Brien podcast is that there, I think it was Japan, that loneliness is such a factor that you could actually rent family members, like fake
Yeah,
family members. I was like, oh my goodness. So this is another thing we're taking for granted here in America, that we could easily spend time with our family, but the rigmarole, the weeds of life could easily hinder that from happening.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
So that's awesome. You have a great perspective on that, brother. I know you're enjoying that content, but I just wanted to personally invite you to the Commonwealth Affordable Housing Fund. If you want to passively earn while also building communities, doing philanthropy even, while getting quarterly distributions and even sharing in the exit about 5 years down the line, then please join us. This used to just be for friends and family, but you could join in now. You could be essentially earning through an expert, which is I, running the investment firm Commonwealth. So if you want to be a part of it and also get access to exclusive events where we go to in-progress construction and I show you how your money is being used actively and how the renovation was just complete and how this is going to help change people's lives, how we negotiated an acquisition. So you could be a part of those events throughout the year and also earn passively. So if you want to be a part of that, please click the link below and I'll let you back to your awesome content. Thanks. How do you enjoy what you built?
Well, going back to that, um, having even now, of course, I'm still, we'll say, working, right? I'm retired. I did leave my W-2 job, so I'm still working per se with real estate, but I have a lot
Okay.
more flexibility in my time. So
Yeah.
while my kids are away at school still for now, obviously, then I'm still here, like recording podcasts and talking with investors and trying to get some deals done, things like that. But I don't have like a set hours per se that I have to put in, put out, but I do put myself limits. I still block out time each day. So if someone wants to schedule a call with me, they can get on my calendar and schedule that. But I'm not available at certain times. I'm done at a certain time of day. I focus on my family. I block out time for lunch with my wife. Block out time for exercise. So I block off times in my calendar that for sure that I'm not available. And if somebody tries to schedule, it's like, I'm sorry, I'm not available. I
Yeah.
can't do it at that time. Um, so I try to make sure that I don't let things interfere with that, and don't make excuses to say, well, I'll do it. I'll say, no, I'm not available.
Yeah.
And then we at the beginning of the year we block out certain times during the year. Say we're going to take a vacation here and here and here. So it's already on the calendar. It's blocked out, so I don't have to worry about it. It's happening. And so yeah, so that's kind of what I do and what I spend our time with. I mean, we were lucky last year. I guess I studied my W-2 at the time, but I did take a kind of a last big vacation from that job, and we took 3 weeks to go down to Paraguay to visit my wife's family, and we intend to do that again next year, and
Cool.
probably spend more time this year. So yeah, we want to be able to travel and see family is kind of our biggest things to really hang out and do together. But I've also been able to help my two daughters I have that are old enough to be out of the home now. They're going to in school and on their own kind of. So
Okay.
support them and pay for their housing and food and things like that to help them kind of get through that. And um, things that I would not have been able to do a few years ago before I got involved with real estate. We just said, hey, take student loans and get in debt like everybody else, I guess. So we're trying to help set them up on a better path forward to come out of school with a career in mind, and not to focus and worry about debt and expenses. Of course, teach them along the way that they can start as early as possible as well. And they all know as soon as they're ready to buy their first home, we're going to help them so they can do a house hack and get start off on the right foot, and
Nice.
hopefully be themselves financially free by the time they're 30. So that's what I'm working towards now.
That's beautiful, man. Yeah, and I would say even though we're working, during the daytime, like we have that control, like that's still probably less than 20% of the population of the United States that has the ability to control their schedule, which is
Yeah.
a powerful position to be in. Because quality time is more important than probably anything else. Um,
So
okay. So speaking of enjoying, I got to ask you, is that a gaming chair you're in?
it is, yes, yeah. But I don't use it for gaming. I got it because it was the most comfortable of the chairs I tested out.
Oh,
So
okay. Sounds good.
yeah, I
Okay.
did used to do a lot of gaming. I have not. My son, he's 11 years old. He's a big time gamer, so I do play with him once in a while. But I don't I
Yeah.
don't I don't unfortunately make time to play games myself anymore.
Yeah, yeah. I'm playing the Division 2 lately, a military game. You know, when you mentioned when that people have to use your Calendly to schedule time with you,
Mhm.
it made me think of the other day. Somebody got offended that Jay-Z and Beyonce didn't want to make friends with a fan of theirs, and I was like, wait a minute. They might have like 10 hours a week, maybe free. Like, if they would make friends with all of their fans, they would literally not have any free time for the rest of their
Yeah,
entire lives.
exactly.
So we really got to be protective. Even if it was 30 free hours, it's still, you got to. And I love people. I'm an extrovert. Like, I would love to have unlimited lunches and coffees, but it just isn't practical, unfortunately.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I understand. Hmm.
Which brings us naturally into reserve. There's financial, time, personal, emotional, spiritual reserves.
Yeah.
Do you have a particular one that's top of mind to you right now, or do you like do a balancing act of as best as you can?
Um. Well, I'm not sure. So a big part of what made me able to leave my job last year, so when was reserves, actually something we worked towards was, um, when my wife and I sat down and said, okay, I'm going to leave my job. We need to have these things in place before we can do that. As much as I wanted to, what did it, that day, we said, no, we got to wait. These things have to be in place first. And one of those was having a 1 year of expenses in reserves.
Hmm.
So just in case, worst case scenario, something happens, we can at least survive through 1 year at our minimal expenses, to get us through. So that was one thing we had to have in place, make that happen. And I think that's obviously still is important to have, some kind of cash reserves available. A lot of people say, well, we've got a HELOC that will count, and or different things, but yes and no, I guess, in certain emergencies. But it's good to have actual cash on hand as well, because even if you take out a HELOC to pay on some kind of thing, you still got to pay that back, at least the interest at least. So you have the money to be able to do that too. So
Yeah.
it's definitely important to have some cash reserves on hand for sure, for anything comes up. Um, Time reserves, I guess, not something I've considered, I guess, in that aspect of it. But I guess in a way, it's kind of like I said, blocking off those times, that way you're available. I never do weekends, so if there's ever a conference or podcast or something happening on a weekend, I always have to turn them down and say, I'm sorry, I can't. I'm
Hmm.
not available on weekends. That's always 100% family time. And so yeah, you got to reserve reserve your personal time, because that's honestly, I did a blog post about this actually a few years ago, before I got in really commercial real estate. I launched this blog kind of about the financial literacy, I guess. And one of that was being that time is our most valuable asset. So don't waste your time, and don't lose your time doing things that don't matter. I mean,
Hmm.
uh, like, I get at my kids all the time. They'll sit there for hours watching YouTube videos and things. I'm like, what are you doing? You're just wasting your time. That you're not doing it unless you're watching some kind of educational video teaching you something. Okay, but if it's just stupid things, it's like, why would you waste your time doing that? You could do something much more productive, and whatever. Um, but anyway, so that's for me, is like, I try not to waste my time. So
Yeah.
I don't really don't watch TV or anything like that, unless I'm watching a movie with my family or something.
Hmm.
I prefer to either be doing things with my family, or working towards something to build up something to get us in a better position. So,
Yeah.
so
What
always make sure you have time to do those kind of things.
indeed. And what sort of things were sacrificed, if any, to get to that 1 year savings?
Um, um, Well, it was mostly, I just say, just the opportunity cost, knowing that we're not going to invest that money. 'Cause that most of that came luckily from one of our previous deals that we're in that was able to provide that return back, um, to have that now on hand to hold it and set aside for that. Whereas, of
Yeah.
course, me internally, I'm like, I wanted to go back and invest that, keep that working, keep that building and
Hmm.
producing more. But I had to mentally say, nope, that's going to be set aside. Don't touch it. Put an account. You maybe earn some interest on it, but it's not to be used for anything other than paying expenses as they come up if needed. So,
Yeah.
um, so it's just more of that that mental block of not being able to use it how I'd prefer to use it, just to have it set aside, and then
Okay.
until it gets to the point long enough where like we get further enough along where it's okay, we have not had to use half of it or whatever amount to be, then I can take part of that and go back and reinvest it later. But that was the
Yeah.
main thing, just to not be able to use it as I prefer to use it.
Yeah. And not a lot of people realize, but if you invest in, like, for example, the ugliest house on the block, but it has a good amount of rooms, you could probably wait a few years and get if you invested correctly, a couple $100,000 out of that. If you invested in the right metropolitan area,
Right.
and knew maybe some development was around the corner, which skyrocketed pricing. I've had a couple deals like that. Of course, it doesn't always happen. Nobody has a psychic crystal ball, but just one deal could make a huge difference. Like your quadruplex, I'm sure did too for you.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, again, like I said, if I'd have known years ago that this market I'm in Idaho Falls, Idaho, would have exploded in the last 5-6 years, I would have tried to buy up as much, if anything, I could, even if it was a single family home that didn't cash flow. I was like, buy it, hold it first a few years, and it's gonna like triple in value
Hmm.
and then sell. But I didn't know at the time, and of course had to do what made sense, and so
Yeah,
you know, do what you can.
yeah, and you're still okay.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
All right. Well, that wraps up the last section. What sort of stuff are you up to, and how can people get involved with you?
Thanks. Well, kind of as I mentioned at the very beginning of this, these days I'm mostly focusing on syndications. I'm with two different syndication teams. One that, if those are maybe are watching this, they'll see on my screen the Beyond Our Holdings. We purchase RV campgrounds, resorts, and marinas all across the country. What really led me to that was a few years ago was seeking higher cash flows. I was trying to again build up that passive income to get out of my job, and so I was as the market prices were going up and going crazy. People were overpaying for properties. It got to the point where it was almost impossible to find anything that would actually cash flow. So I was seeking something better. Discovered RV campgrounds as something different and alternative, and they cash flow very well. We target properties that average of a 12 to 15% cash on cash, and so that really got me excited, and so I went out and got involved and became a part of a team that does that. So we're of
Yeah.
course always seeking new investors to get involved with us, as well as potential campground owners out there who may want to sell or are looking to buy some properties. And then the other team I'm with, totally different team, does build to rent multifamily. So we've got some projects we're working on that are much more designed for a long-term hold. So
Okay.
I think basically treat those like my retirement account now, where we intend to hold them for like 20 to 25 years,
Okay.
return of capital around year 5, but hold for a long term, basically get that built in, this natural appreciation that's going to happen over the course of the next 20, 25 years, where you could
Yeah.
easily 30x your investment, with again getting your capital back after about year 5. So you have essentially no money in it, but build up great equity over that period of time anyway, and infinite cash flows as they come in. So anyway, so that's kind of what I'm focusing on. I was looking for new investors, people looking for something different and unique that they may not have seen elsewhere. And so yeah, that's kind of what our needs are. And I'd
Okay.
be happy to talk to anybody anytime about any of those things or anything else. I do enjoy helping people, whether they invest with me or not. I'm just here to help inform and offer advice where I can.
Okay. Sounds good. Yeah, especially that RV campgrounds. I never heard that's a special niche. That's the first time I
Yeah,
ever heard that.
yeah, it's a bit unique for sure. It's not widely out there like everybody doing like they do multifamily right now, but
Yeah.
it is growing. There are more people getting involved as they see the returns that are out there. A lot more people that are in the multifamily space are starting to try to purchase them. Of course, we're trying to be the leaders in that space, so people will know of and think of us when they think of that.
Hmm.
But yeah, it's great returns overall, great cash flows, great equity multiples, and surprisingly great tax benefits. You can get much higher depreciation on a campground than you can on multifamily usually. So
Oh, wow.
it's kind of a surprise thing that people are happy to hear about.
We're going to have to wrap some more after this, brother.
Sounds good. Yeah.
All right. Well, they could get more information about reaching out to you on your website there, beyondercamp.com.
Yeah, go to beyondercamp.com. You can also find me on LinkedIn. I'm very active on LinkedIn and Facebook, but
Okay.
feel free to reach out. Send me an email, don@beyondercamp.com, and happy to talk more.
Awesome. Don Spafford, thank you so much. And thank you for watching or listening to From Tech Developer to Real Estate Developer. Catch you in the next one.
Thanks.
Thank you for joining us on another episode of From Tech Developer to Real Estate Developer. I hope you got a lot of return on investment for your time today, and I encourage you to share it with other people so that they could also get returns, get this valuable education to invest in real estate. We're also sharing this free education because we want to help people learn how to invest so that they could also create more affordable housing units. We have a great goal of creating 2.5 million affordable housing units by 2047, and free education like this is a big part of that. So by you sharing, you are a part of the equation to create those affordable housing units. So I can't wait to see the end of the road that we're going to achieve together. Have an amazing and blessed day.